In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome. I'd like to welcome all of you who have joined us for today's webinar. This webinar is sponsored by the Universal Peace Federation, an international and interreligious network of individuals and organizations founded by Dr. Sun Myung Moon, and Hak Ja Han, that's dedicated to achieving world peace. It is an NGO in general consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations. UPF supports the work of the United Nations, in particular in the areas of interfaith peace building, peace education, and the strengthening of marriage and family. Today's webinar is sponsored by the International Media Association for Peace, or IMAP, which represents a worldwide professional network of journalists who support socially responsible and moral media and address the challenges of our time based on the highest principles of ethical journalism. Our topic today relates to the UN's World Environment Day, which was celebrated this month and is supported by the Hyo Jeong International Foundation for Environmental Peace. Our moderator is Pierre Beauregard. Pierre holds a degree in business administration as well as a master's in religious education. He has retired from a 20-year career as a certified financial planner and currently serves as IMAP's coordinator in Canada. Please join me in welcoming Pierre Beauregard.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peggy. I am joining you from Montreal, Canada. And this webinar, we have a title that might seem somewhat unusual compared to our usual titles of webinars, but I think it encapsulates the essence of what is needed for environmental peace. Only a person who can love nature can love God is an excerpt from A Peace-Loving Global Citizen, from the 2009 autobiography of Reverend Sun Myung Moon, the founder of UPF. Dr. Sun Myung Moon, daughter of Reverend Moon, shared this quote when she gave the founder's address at HJIFEP's World Summit 2025 held in Seoul the 12th of April last year. The Hyo Jeong International Foundation for Environmental Peace, HJIFEP, was founded in 2017 by Dr. Hak Ja Han, the wife of the late Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon. HJIFEP looks for solutions through findings from both conventional science and frontier science, stretching from a materialist to a post-materialist worldview. Many of the top leaders of the emerging post-materialist science have attended HJIFEP conferences. Let me quote Professor Marjorie Wollicott of the Institute of Neuroscience, University of Oregon. She spoke in 2022 at the Third International Conference on Science and God and said the following: "We cannot save the environment of this planet without changing the underlying worldview from a materialist worldview related to humankind's right to exploit the environment to a post-materialist worldview of humankind's need to protect the environment." Today, we will hear from 4 passionate environmental activists: Christoph Wilkening, Deputy General Manager of HJIFEP, followed by Dr. Iyad Abumoghli, founder of the United Nations Environmental Programme's Faith for Earth Coalition, amongst one of its many titles, Christina Barlaan, Vice President for Administration, Women's Federation for World Peace International, and Gregg, founder of Native Species Revival. The question and answer period will follow after the speakers. The meeting will last a little bit longer than our usual 1 hour, maybe 70 to 75 minutes. Let me introduce our first speaker. Mr. Christoph Wilkening began his career as foreign desk assistant editor at the News World in New York City. He later became the editorial production coordinator for the monthly educational print magazine The World and I, and then joined the Washington Times as editorial production editor. Always inspired by the infinite beauty and intricacies of our natural environment, he seized the opportunity to work for the Hyo Jeong International Foundation for Environmental Peace, where he served for 3.5 years as desk editor for the online bi-monthly magazine The Earth and I. This online publication aims to deliver the most informative, educational, and enjoyable stories on how to protect, cherish, and live in harmony with nature and to create a healthy, peaceful world. For the last year, he has served as Deputy General Manager at HJIFEP. Dr. Wilkening, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Pierre, and also I'm so glad and grateful to see my friends, Merle and Gregg, and also I get to know Dr. Abumoghli. And yes, so my presentation will focus on the Earth and I. That's what I have been done. I also will cover some other topics connected to this. There's so much to say. Necessarily, I have to leave out a lot of things, but we can also share later on in the question and answers. I want to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Could you put your volume up a tiny bit?
I think you may have to do it yourself.
Okay.
I can't do it here. Okay. So, The Earth and I is published by, of course, HJIFEP. You see the cover page or the home page. We just published yesterday a new edition. You see June, July 2026 on the 22nd of June. We are responding to the environmental crisis, which is a clear and present danger. We live on Mother Earth, a lush and vibrant place. Nevertheless, Mother Earth groans under the burden of a severe environmental crisis. It has become a global issue that transcends nationality, race, religion, and culture. And yet still we have not found a solution. The environmental vision of Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hyo Jeong Moon is that humanity must love, cherish, and properly steward nature as part of God's creation. As already was said, the Hyo Jeong International Foundation was founded 2017 as a non-profit. It is the institutional expression of this vision to protect, preserve, and restore the global environment through international cooperation, publications, conferences, and education. A quick word to our staff. I would not be here without the staff. I'm very grateful. This is always teamwork. And first of all, our publisher is Dr. Dong Moon-ju. Dr. Sun Myung Moon is Executive Director. Dr. In-sun Park, Executive Assistant. Dr. Dinsler Janji, Research Director. Robert Sell is Desk Editor. Jerry Cessna, the Associate Editor. Chrysantha Brandner, Webmaster. Ernst Kamga, Social Media Manager. Tamami Nasuna, Administrative Assistant. Our central theme on all we do is that environmental problems cannot be solved by science, policy, or technology alone. The crisis is rooted in a broken relationship among God, humanity, and nature. Therefore, the proposed solution is an environmental peace framework grounded in true love, interdependence, and mutual prosperity and universal values. HJIFEP views environmental work as a providential responsibility tied to the concept of the three great blessings in the Christian Bible. Genesis 1, 27, 28. God created man in his own image, male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea, the birds of heaven, and every living thing that moves upon the earth. Humanity has the responsibility to exercise loving stewardship over creation. Genesis 2:15 says, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to till it and care for it. HJIFEP champions three major approaches to overcoming the crisis. Nature-friendly character education. This approach is essential for restoring the emotional and spiritual bond between people and the natural world. environmental protection and restoration activities grounded in interdependence and mutual prosperity, development and use of science and technology, including both conventional and frontier science. Science needs to move beyond a purely materialistic worldview and be guided by a higher understanding of consciousness, spirit, and the Creator. In addition, the accomplishments of science and technology must be shared equitably with developing nations so that environmental progress does not deepen global inequality. HJIFEP has a partnership strategy. It proposes collaboration with broader religious environmental organizations, general environmental NGOs, and other institutions. Activities include volunteer service, environmental education, nature spirituality programs, environmentally friendly lifestyle practices, and most importantly, the use of the Earth and I magazine as an online hub for environmental information. Now, the Earth and I topics span a wide range, too many to list in this presentation. Our library now includes over 550 in-depth articles and more than 200 news and data briefs. Since its first publication 5 years ago, the Earth and I has had over 273,000 views, 173,000 site sessions, 135,000 unique visitors, about 100 visitors every day. Our editors often discuss what the Earth and I's special niche is. Our conclusion so far is to elucidate the unitive awareness between humans and nature when we are investigating unprecedented environmental current challenges and solutions. In the words of Dr. Lisa Miller, professor of psychology and education at Teachers College, Columbia University, about trauma, including environmental trauma. At moments of hairpin curves, our paths enter a form of recovery from loss, despair, and even trauma, through which we augment our awakened awareness. We are not merely recovered, not merely back to baseline, but we are renewed. We are made more and bigger inside. Now, Dr. Lisa Miller has given a talk about exactly this topic at the Third International Conference on Science and God, ICSG 3, in April 2022. It's also published. I want to read you a quick excerpt from his, this is a remarkable story she experienced with her son when he was about 2.5 years old. They were in a park enjoying a sunny day, glistening on the water, the green grass, when suddenly we spotted yellow fluffy baby geese. This is Dr. Miller speaking. My son wanted to be friends with the geese and, with great enthusiasm and joy, started waving and patting towards them. This was done with his whole heart, but was very frightening to Mother Goose. When she saw this robust human coming toward her little children, she turned with a huge protective hiss. But she didn't turn to my son, she turned and hissed at me. Mother Goose said to me what any mother on earth of any species might say, which is, "You have not been watching over your child to the protection of mine." She knew my son was just a baby. She knew I was the mother. She knew that we had like responsibilities. All living beings on earth are knowers and in relationship with one another, but we have created a culture around the world in which we have all but gouged out our eyes, leaving us blind to the reality of relationships all around us. Since last year, we also have expanded our social media presence, on Facebook particularly. And we upgraded with many posts, 3 to 4 posts every week. And since then, these posts have generated approximately 11,000 to 17,000 viewers daily. This has been a great success. In addition, since the beginning of this month, June 2026, our Facebook page has featured 4 short video reels that have garnered over 210,000 views. They start with the theme, the healing power of nature, then draw interest to our sacred bond with nature, to encourage relatability, and then to creatures have consciousness, the most recent friendship across species, aims to raise awareness, evokes relatable emotions, and fosters a sense of closeness to nature. And I've spliced these 3 reels together for you.
There is no sound. There's no sound, Christoph. Maybe we can play that at the end.
Okay. Okay, let's play at the end. So, as a takeaway, in her recent book, Climate Wayfinders, Catherine Wilkinson writes that as humans, we are connected to the earth and to each other. She says, on so many levels, we need one another to take part in planetary healing, from cheering each other up to cheering each other on. In this spirit, I want to cheer everyone up and on to do whatever you feel called to take collective and individual action that is in congruence with your environmental values. This can include organizing a compost pickup in your neighborhood, joining a cleanup by your local nonprofit, environmental organization, volunteering to help elders prepare for emergencies, or planting a native garden. The options are endless. Well, this concludes my presentation, and I hope to share more afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Christoph Wilkinson. So we will jump right into introducing our next speaker, Dr. Iyad Abumoghli. Dr. Abumoghli founded Faith for Earth Coalition at the United Nations with the United Nations Environmental Program. He's a distinguished environmental leader, engineer, and diplomat whose career spans nearly 3 decades with the United Nations and over 40 years of service in environmental sustainability and ethical development. Beginning as a researcher at the University of Jordan, he laid the foundations for a career dedicated to bridging science, policy, and practical action to safeguard our planet. He held senior roles across UNDP and UNEP, including Global Practice Manager at UNDP New York, Policy Advisor in Beirut, Head of Knowledge and Innovation in Cairo, and Regional Director of UNEP for West Asia. In 2017, he founded and directed Faith for Earth Coalition, mobilizing multi-faith networks, youth, and women leaders to confront the triple planetary crisis, translating scientific evidence into moral and spiritual actions. Yet the true inspiration for his work has always come from local communities, the underprivileged and vulnerable, whose rights, dignity, and well-being he strives to protect. Dr. Abumoghli exemplifies a rare combination of vision, courage, and ethics, making him a leading voice in global efforts to unite science, policy, and spirituality for the planet. Throughout his career, Dr. Abumoghli has collaborated with world leaders, faith figures, scientists, and diplomats, championing environmental governance, climate resilience, and sustainable development at every level. Currently, Dr. Abumoghli serves as a member of strategic advisory boards for 5 global organizations. Dr. Iyad Abumoghli, you have the floor. Thank you for coming. I know you're very, very busy. And
thank you, Pierre. Thank you for the invitation and to be a part of this wonderful webinar. And thank you for the introduction. So good evening or good afternoon, friends and respectful participants. Well, I would like to begin with a simple observation. For many years, more than 50 years, since 1992, humanity has possessed enough scientific evidence to know that our current relationship with the earth is unsustainable. We know what is happening to our climate. We know what is happening to biodiversity. And we know what is happening to our soils, forests, rivers, and oceans. And yet, despite unprecedented scientific knowledge, environmental degradation continues. This raises an uncomfortable question. If science has already told us what is happening, why are we still unable to change course? After more than 4 decades working at the intersection of environment, policy, and faith, I have come to believe that the answer lies not in a lack of information, but in a crisis of worldview, or what I have been calling the moral responsibility. The environmental crisis is not only an ecological crisis, it is a crisis of values, a crisis of meaning, and a crisis of our understanding of who we are and our place in the web of life. For centuries, modern civilization has been largely shaped by a materialist worldview, a worldview that measures success primarily through economic growth, consumption, production, and accumulation. This worldview has generated extraordinary achievements, yes. It has advanced science, technology, medicine, and human prosperity. But it has also carried a hidden assumption that nature exists primarily as a resource for human use. Forests become timber, rivers become water supplies, animals become commodities, land becomes an asset, and the earth therefore becomes a warehouse. When viewed through this lens, exploitation becomes normal, protection becomes secondary, and stewardship becomes optional. Today, however, we are witnessing the limits of this paradigm. The ecological crises facing humanity are forcing us to ask deeper questions. What if the earth is more than a collection of resources? What if value cannot be measured only in monetary terms? What if human flourishing depends not only on the domination of nature, but on harmony with it? These questions invite us toward what many scholars describe as a post-materialist worldview, a worldview that recognizes that meaning, ethics, spirituality, relationships, compassion, and responsibility are not secondary to human development. They are central to it. And this is where faith traditions have an indispensable contribution to make. Not because faith replaces science, not because faith provides technical solutions, but because faith speaks to the dimensions of a human existence that science alone cannot address. Science can tell us how ecosystems function. Faith can help us understand why they matter. Science can measure the concentration of carbon dioxide. Faith can inspire the moral courage to reduce it. Science can explain interdependence, but faith can transform interdependence into responsibility. Throughout my career at UNEP, I have witnessed this transformative power firsthand. When I first began engaging faith communities on environmental issues, many people, even within the UN, questioned whether religion had any role to play in sustainability. Environmental policy was viewed as the domain of scientists, economists, and governments. Faith communities were largely absent from global environmental conversation. Yet, I had seen something others often overlooked. Faith traditions reached into the hearts of people in ways that institutions and policies alone cannot. They shape values, they influence behavior, they create moral communities, and they answer the question not only of what we should do, but why we should do it. This understanding led us to build bridges between environmental science and religious wisdom. One of the most inspiring examples was the Confluence of Consciences Summit that I organized in Abu Dhabi in 2023. There at the conference, faith leaders from diverse traditions came together not to debate theology, but to affirm a shared moral responsibility toward the earth. What struck me most was how quickly differences dissolved when the conversation shifted from doctrine to responsibility. Different religions used different languages. Some spoke of stewardship, others of trusteeship, others of sacred interconnectedness, but the message was remarkably similar. The earth is not ours to exploit, it is ours to protect. This experience reinforced a profound lesson. The world's faith traditions may differ in belief, but they converge around ethical principles that can guide humanity toward a more sustainable future. Humility, compassion, justice, moderation, responsibility, gratitude, care for future generations, all of these are not merely religious values. These are ecological necessities. In my work on the role of ethics in environmental governance, I argued that environmental challenges cannot be solved solely through laws, regulations, or economic incentives. Yes, policies are essential. Science is essential. Technology is essential. But without ethical foundations, they remain insufficient. Because every environmental decision ultimately reflects a moral choice. Who benefits? Who bears the cost? What responsibilities do we owe future generations? And what obligations do we have toward other living beings? Ethics provides the compass that allows policy to move in the right direction. Without ethics, governance can become efficient but directionless. With ethics, governance gains purpose. Perhaps the most important environmental frontier is not external but internal. The greatest transformation we need may not be technological. It may be psychological and spiritual. This realization became particularly clear through my work with the University of Connecticut on mindfulness for Earth. The project explored a simple but profound idea. The environmental crisis is connected to the way we perceive ourselves. When we see ourselves as separate from nature, exploitation becomes easier. When we experience ourselves as part of an connected living system, care emerges naturally. Mindfulness cultivates awareness. Awareness nurtures empathy. Empathy strengthens responsibility, and responsibility inspires action. This is not abstract philosophy. It has practical implications because many of the behaviors driving environmental degradation are rooted in unconscious habits of consumption, competition, and disconnection. Inner transformation and outer transformation are therefore inseparable. The environmental movement has often focused on changing systems. Faith traditions remind us that lasting change also requires changing hearts. Today, I believe humanity stands at an important threshold. We possess remarkable scientific knowledge. We have sophisticated technologies. We understand environmental risks more clearly than ever before. What we need is now wisdom. Wisdom to align knowledge with values. Wisdom to align power with responsibility. And wisdom to align progress with purpose. This is where the nexus of ethics, science, and policy becomes so important. Science tells us what it is. Ethics helps us to determine what ought to be. And policy translates both into collective action. None of these dimensions can succeed alone. Science without ethics can become detached from human values. Ethics without science can become disconnected from reality. And policy without either can become ineffective. But when these three work together, they become transformative. This integration represents one of the greatest opportunities of our time. And faith communities have a unique role to play in this process, not as observers, not as critics, but as partners. Partners in cultivating ecological consciousness, partners in nurturing moral leadership, and partners in reminding humanity that the earth is not merely an economic asset, but a sacred trust. Friends, the transition from exploitation to protection is ultimately not about changing our relationship with nature. It is about changing our understanding of ourselves. When we recognize that we are part of a larger living community, protection ceases to be a sacrifice. It becomes an expression of who we are. Faith traditions have preserved this wisdom for centuries. Science increasingly now confirms it. The challenge before us is to translate it into policy or institutions and to our daily life. My hope comes from witnessing something remarkable over the past 3 decades. When I started this journey, faith communities were largely absent from environmental discussions. Today, they are among the most dynamic and influential voices calling for ecological responsibility. Around the world, churches, mosques, temples, monasteries, indigenous communities, and faith-based organizations are mobilizing millions of people to care for creation. This gives me hope because it suggests that humanity is beginning to understand that environmental crisis is not merely about carbon or biodiversity or pollution. It is about consciousness. It is about values. It is about the kind of civilization we wish to become. And if we can draw upon the moral wisdom of our faith traditions, the insights of science and the tools of good governance, then I believe we can help shape a future where humanity no longer sees itself as the owner of the earth, but as its caretaker. A future where exploitation gives way to protection, a future where material progress is balanced by moral progress, a future where development is measured not only by what we accumulate, but by what we preserve. And perhaps, most importantly, a future where we rediscover that caring for the earth is not merely an environmental obligation, it is a sacred responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abumoghli. That was wonderful. I'm going to have to listen to it again and study it. Your passion is truly contagious. But due to time constraint, I'll go straight into my introduction of our next speaker. Merle Christina Barlaan is Vice President of Foreign Administration for Women's Federation for World Peace International. She is also the Director of Women's WFWPI Offices for UN Relations in New York, Geneva, and Vienna, with 3 decades of, she looks young, but she has 3 decades of advocating for youth, women, peace, and the environment. She led global to local initiatives such as Mother's Hearts Network, Asia Pacific Peace Education Center, Permaculture Literacy Program, Young Global Women's Ambassador for Peace Academy. Mrs. Barlaan supports Women's Federation for World Peace International's peace-building efforts across 128 countries. She was the convener of the Beijing Plus 30 Working Group on the Environment and NGO CSW Geneva Civil Society Task Force. She is pursuing a Master's in Peace and Conflict Studies at HJI Graduate School for Peace and Public Leadership in New York. Merle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pierre. Hello, everyone. Greetings from New York. Thank you very much for the invitation. This is such an important, actually, an existential conversation that we need to have. I am very much an activist, peace activist, but my heart is very close to nature, having been born in a farming community in a rural village in the Philippines. everything that I do integrates with nature. And I'm very grateful that you have created this platform where we can expand and we can create networks to promote what we do, to solve our environmental problems. I would like to share my screen. Environmental and environmental stewardship and climate action is one of WFWPI's mandates and pillars of activities and pillars for peace building. And we have more than 20 countries that have focused on environmental issues and environmental stewardship. But I'd like to focus on one of our initiatives. This is aligned with permaculture, and we aligned it with SDG 1, SDG 4, 5, 13, and 14. And we started this project in the Philippines. However, recently in the last 3 months, we are introducing a new project, which is called Peace Gardens and Pharmacy here in the US, particularly in New Jersey. And it is centering on women's health and wellness, health, healing, happiness, and higher consciousness. It is based on permaculture, nature-based solutions for climate action. This is actually very exciting, and I hope that I could get your interest. If some of you went to the 80th session of the General Assembly last year, you probably saw these posters. There were 4 of them at the when you as you enter the security area before you enter the main building. And this shows how much UN is very serious in terms of environmental issues. And this particular poster, which says, "What if nature could save us?" really moved me. And there was also one that says, "What if you gave half of your lawn to nature?" Because I find hope in how the United Nations is making a big space for implementation and commitment to saving the environment. The founders of Women's Federation, Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hyo Jeong Moon, really are environmental lovers, and even to the point of encouraging us to return to nature. And I'd like to quote one of my favorite excerpt from his speech. He said that if we return to our original position in harmony with nature, in living for others, resembling God's everlasting creativity and love as the true masters, we can reflect more and more of God's integrated nature without even consciously realizing it. Only nature can give you that opportunity. That is why I say to you, return to nature. And so with this, we have created this environmental program, environmental stewardship program for Women's Federation that will be implemented in 128 chapters. The vision is to establish model peace villages in every continent to educate a new generation of peace-loving global leaders of heart and character through environmental stewardship. We want to see a world where women and youth are empowered to lead environmentally responsive, regenerative, peace-centered communities rooted in heart, character, and care for the earth. And so here is our theory of change is really on centering on character, stewardship, and abundance. And we want to institutionalize permaculture education program and practice and form leaders of character. Permaculture is the best so far that I have seen in any of permaculture, in any of environmental stewardship and environmental programs that restores the earth, at the same time restores the original nature and character of human being. It's very integrated and holistic. The problems that we're seeing today is disconnection from nature, extractive norms, food insecurity, malnutrition, ecosystem decline, conflict, and then the technical fixes alone underperform without values and habit change. And even in the Philippines, a lot of the agricultural practices are monopolized by big agriculture to the point that it is very abusive to farmers and much more abusive to nature. And so here, uh, our solution, our intervention is really holistic in nature, that we need to restore first our character, and through permaculture we can recover our virtues, our behavior, and practice it and make it part of our lifestyle, and then create systems and influence policies. So first, well, when we observe nature, we can really see that our lives, our existence is very much integrated. And so therefore, it really needs to, where they say, peace starts with me. This is also the way we restore nature. And I very much agree. And I'm very happy to hear Dr. Abumoghli with his very integrated approach to environmental restoration. And here, these are the 4 pillars where Women's Federation approach our environmental stewardship program. Character formation. In our projects, we encourage our young people, especially children and in schools, journals, gratitude, service, peace circles. And then the second pillar is on regenerative food, water, bio-intensive beds, food, forests, rain gardens. Later, I'm going to show you how we do that. And then the third pillar is governance for peace, stewardship councils, transparent surplus rules, and fourth is learning measurement. So we create this dashboard and reporting that are measurable to collect data. So we are attempting to change policies and influence our legislators and our policymakers. We anchor on the UN Resolution 76-300. It's the United Nations resolution on human rights to clean, healthy, safe, and sustainable environment. And with this, we are partnering with the university. We did last year during a high-level political forum, we had a side event where we had a MOU signing with the university in Cebu City, and they are going to be the implementing partner for our permaculture education program in mainstreaming the permaculture education. And right now we are partnering also with the Cebu City government. And so this is how we started. And for our community implementation, we also have the Asia Pacific Peace Education Center, where we introduce the permaculture framework, and we are also actually creating a farm. It's a demonstration farm where people, tourists, and the community can go to the farm and learn permaculture firsthand. This is our farm, and this is a holistic learning hub is experiential, transformational, and environmental stewardship education programs to raise young people to become peace-loving global leaders and responsible stewards of the planet by providing the youth and the community with an enabling environment and altruistic, nature-based, hopeful, and forward-looking peace leadership paradigm to realize their fullest God-given potentials. And in early this year in January, we invited our Women's Federation leaders and constituents to visit the farm, and we cooked food together. We planted, we farmed together and harvested food and cook it together to get with the women and community. This is one of our partnership model. So what the WFWPI permaculture model does. It is a bottom-up framework shaped by community realities in the Philippines. We, in partnership with the Municipal Agriculture Office and the Department of Agriculture of the Philippines, we are training women and youth in practical regenerative food systems. First is we listen, and then this is actually a 4-year journey. It didn't happen overnight. First is listening first. Start with local needs, food insecurity, low income, weak market access, and climate stress. Then we train locally. We partnered with the municipal agriculturists to train 10 young, 4 municipal agriculturists and 6 youth leaders to get a certification with the University of Philippines Open University to get a 3-month certification on permaculture design thinking. And once they learned that, they in turn took the ownership and trained the farmers. Right now, we have 35 farmers who finished the permaculture design thinking course, and they're applying it in their communities. And you will be amazed what type of initiatives, their character, their heart, their higher consciousness is operating in an inspiring way, to the point where they created their vision. And one of their visions that they wanted to do is to create a food bank for the school children in our rural schools. So for that, because it didn't come from me, it came from them, I was so inspired. So here, this is from listening first, to train locally, organize women, activate youth, and create ownership. This whole flow of from inspiration to impact, I was able to see this in Philippines in a period of 3 years. So this is what the women, we had senator from Spain, current former senators, and the Women's Federation leadership of Europe and USA came to our training center. They had a good time cooking together. The women gained their agency, and the food became not just they're operating not from scarcity but from abundance, and nutrition improved, and young people seeing for our young people these days, especially in the rural areas, it's for them is to see is to believe. And even for our guests, farming and harvesting and cooking all in one day for them was a very healing and inspiring experience. So
Thank you,
yeah.
Barlaan. Thank you so much. What a passionate talk you are giving. But our time is flowing by, drifting through our fingers like
Right.
sand.
Yes. Thank you.
So were you on your last slide?
I was almost there, but I was just could I show my last slide for everyone? Just the Peace Pharmacy. I want to invite everyone for our event.
One more minute. We
Just
really
for
have
the
to go.
July,
Go ahead.
let me see. Yes. Yeah, time flew by so fast. All right, here. Oops. Okay, here, this one is on July 25th. We are having the launching of our Peace Garden and Pharmacy. If it is hosted by one of our ambassadors for peace in New Jersey. And if you are joining us, please bring a pot of herbs or plant, and we are going to talk about healing, how to be happy, our health, and higher consciousness. Basically, promoting creating a garden. We're going to create a garden that we call a pharmacy, and for our health and wellness. So this is a very inspiring event. And here I'd like to show part of my living room where I'm planting all kinds of herbs incorporated in my living room for healing and higher consciousness. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you, and I hope many people will attend your July 25th launching of New Jersey Peace Garden and Pharmacy. So let me introduce now our final speaker before we go to Q&A, Gregg Jones. Mr. Jones has a BS degree in biology at University of Maryland, College Park. He worked as a research assistant at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab studying effects of the environment from effluent from nuclear energy, and University of Maryland's Horn Point Environment Lab. Also, he taught biology and horticultural for over 10 years and developed an educational farm during that time. Mr. Jones serves as outreach director for the HJIFEP International Foundation for Environmental Peace in Washington, D.C. Currently leads the development of horticultural program at a school in Maryland. I think he's a passionate educator with young people. In addition, he directs the nonprofit Native Species Revival, promoting plants of native species and removal of invasives. Gregg, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Pierre. Thank you, everybody. I'm honored to be here among you, and really excited to share about the contents of Native Species Revival, what motivated me to start this organization. And let's see, can you see my PowerPoint? Do you guys see anything yet?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it, but you put it full screen if you can.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's being blocked a little bit. Get out of the way there. Okay. View, get to window.
Yeah, click slideshow and then to the left from the beginning or from where you are. Very good. Next.
Okay. We get to the next slide. Yeah, okay. At this time in history, we're very fortunate that we can live at a time when we have clear education from spiritual leaders and from scientific leaders. I consider myself a disciple of the Reverend Sun Myung Moon and his wife. And from what they have taught, I've gained a lot of understanding of what it really takes to heal and restore the environment. In this slide, the contents about the human fall. The first, I'm going to go quickly through these things. And then because of the failure of the first ancestors, we've inherited a fallen history. We have taken dominion over nature through force, through power, not through true love. This has to be changed. And Reverend Mrs. Moon have called for a revolution from selfishness to unselfishness. And this is our opportunity now to find the way to liberate the earth, to liberate ourselves. And Reverend Mrs. Moon explained these different ways of preserving nature for the future generations, not just for ourselves. So Native Species Revival was founded to actively support ecosystem restoration based on the teachings of Dr. Douglas Tallamy, who I consider myself a disciple of, among other scientists. But Dr. Tallamy, I believe, is a revolutionary scientist in that he is bringing human responsibility to the forefront and calls for all people to participate, not just biologists. I got to get this screen out of the way. Okay, not just environmentalists or educators, but the basic human being. We all have responsibility. So caring for our environment begins with loving ourselves, our family, and the environment around us. Becoming best stewards, we need to know about biology. We need to learn about native species and ecosystem development. On top of that, as Reverend and Mrs. Moon have taught, understanding the heart and passion of the Creator, his longing and the creation's longing for restoration. If you read Romans 8:19-23, it's amazing what that involves. So Dr. Talamy, he provides this, wow, interesting line here. Now, why did that happen? Back up. Oh, geez, it's going forward. How do I get this thing to reverse? Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. We can save nature and ourselves, or that's the end of the game. Dr. Talamy believes that every human being has to get on the game here to save the earth. Traditional conservationists, as I've mentioned, really focused on the help is going to come from the scientific world, and it's starting in the protected wildlands only. Dr. Talamy's approach is quite revolutionary. It starts in your own yard. Everyone must become a conservationist. Humans and nature coexist in the same place. E.O. Wilson, a famous scientist, he talked about making half the world for nature and half the world for Earth, for human beings to live on. But Dr. Talamy is talking about we must not think that way. Most of the Earth is already occupied by human beings, so we have to coexist. So he's saying that you are nature's best and possibly only hope. You, each of us, should have a garden in our living room like Merle does. That was pretty inspiring, Merle. Dr. Talamy came as a guest of HJIFEP in 2024, I think it was, right, Christoph? He came to Maryland and spoke, totally inspired us. He talked about two environmental problems being the key. Let me get this thing out of the way. Two environmental issues are what's really threatening us today is climate change and the loss of biodiversity. If we address the loss of biodiversity, we're also going to address climate change because we're going to sequester more carbon. The loss of biodiversity is quite fast because of the habitat destruction. We see loss of birds, up to 30% of the birds are gone. Remember when we used to drive down the highway, our windshield used to get covered with insects splatter on the windshield? Remember that 40 years ago? Well, we lost 45% of the insects. If we lose the insects, we've lost the foundation for the food web. There's no time to waste to restore insects on the earth. And this is what Dr. Talamy is an entomologist, as E.O. Wilson was. They both knew that the little things matter. Ecologically poor landscapes dominated by lawns. You know, it's an abomination to have a lawn of an acre size and just a house sitting on it. That is an abomination because it's a very it's an empty ecosystem. The grass provides very little and supports very little insect life. Light pollution is a major cause in insect decline. You wouldn't think about it, but lights, we can do something about that too. The broader decline of insects, birds, and other wildlife tied to these changes. People should improve biodiversity on the land they control. So, I think it's how much? 80% or more of the land east of the Rockies, east of the Mississippi, is private land. So if we don't address, if homeowners don't take responsibility on their own land, we're missing quite a bit of our land. What is the problem? Addressing the loss of biodiversity, the loss of native plants, and the resulting collapse of insect and bird populations. Did you know that 90% of plant-eating insects can reproduce only on plants with which they share evolutionary history, which is native plants? And those native plants are being overrun by invasives and being pulled out of the ground and put in, and then people are planting ornamentals from other countries. So the spread of invasive species and their ecological dominance. These invasive plants are defined as a plant from another biome, maybe Japan, Orient, Europe, but they come to this country or whatever country, they go across continents, and they don't have competition. They don't have prey, they're not being preyed upon by something that will limit their multiplication. So they overrun. And the natives don't have a chance to get back. So replacing invasives with native ones in residential and public spaces is a practical way to reverse biodiversity loss and support the little things that run the world. Insects support the food web, birds, and other wildlife. Okay, what can we do? What can we do? Well, we should garden as if life depends on it, because it does. Don't just plant pretty plants and flowers, but think about native plants. You don't have to plant everything native, but 5% of native plants produce 75% of the food-driving food webs. So these are the most productive native plants. Good quote from Dr. Talamy. It's not the presence of non-natives that's problematic. It's the absence of natives. One key concept in Dr. Talamy's teaching or books is the notion of keystone species. You look at it in Roman architecture. This is the Romans created these arches. They knew how to, they built this with wood support, and then they put in the keystone block. The keystone holds this thing up for centuries. It doesn't fall down. It's a keystone species. Now with plants, the keystone plants is the single most powerful tool for reversing biodiversity loss and restoring ecosystems. Without keystone plants, habitats and biodiversity diminish. Planting an oak tree is a no-brainer. Native oaks are the most valuable tree for wildlife in 84% of the counties throughout the United States. He wrote a whole book about the oaks. And this, I think I hit the wrong button here. All right, do you see this page I'm looking at right now?
Concept of keystone plants. Why native plants matter. That's what we see.
Oh, okay. You don't see. I jumped into another screen. Hold on.
We're going to have to come to an end slowly. Greg?
How much time do I have left? How much time do I have left?
one or 2 minutes max, because
okay, let me get through it. This is the screen I was trying to show you. This shows that Dr. Talamy did the work to find out how many caterpillars live on an oak tree, standard oak tree, 436 species. And you can go through this chart so you can find which ones are the keystone. He's done all this research with the help of his grad students. One other concept I want to leave you with is the idea of a soft landing. Butterflies live in trees, lay their eggs, eat the larvae eats leaves, etc., and then they leave a chrysalis. However, moths do the same, but they drop a pupae to the ground, and the ground has to have a soft landing. A soft landing is something that provides a space for that pupae to crawl into the ground. If it's blown by a leaf blower or something that removes all the organic material or nothing's underneath the tree, it's not going to make it in the ground. So you don't have the pollinator plant, the larvae that the birds need to eat, etc. A chickadee needs about 6,000 larvae just to raise its clutch, 6,000 caterpillars. And pollinator plants are very important. This is some of the things that native species revival, pollinator planting. This is weed warrior pulling out invasives. This is a beautiful garden of pollinator plants with a serviceberry tree in the middle at a church. So these are some of the things you can do. Finally, the action steps I'll leave you with: plant native species, remove invasives, avoid pesticides, diversify the common grass lawn, leave soft areas under the native trees for caterpillar pupae to get into the litter or underground, allowing them to complete their life cycle. This is what I mean by a soft landing. And check out the Homegrown National Park. Anyone that does anything with native species can go here and register your address, and you light up a light on that map, a national connected biological corridor of native plants across the country. Thank you very much. This is another call.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
So let's bring everyone on the screen here, please. We're going to have a short period with our speakers. And maybe Peggy, if you came up with a question from the chat or would like to offer one up. So here we are. We're all here. Thank you so much. We felt the heart of, I guess, the creation wanting us to get out of the way. That's what I feel. How can we collaborate and be part of creation's amazing ability to survive? We know that there might be a war and many people might die, but nature will always survive, but it should thrive a lot more. And we heard about the role of faith. Dr. Abumoghli is working very hard with people of all faiths. And so, Peggy, do you have a question you'd like to offer? Do you have a question? I didn't have time to follow the chat.
Well, there's a lot of wonderful comments in the chat. Some people would like transcripts of what was said.
Well, for the transcript, I will say go to the YouTube channel. I put it in the chat, and you can re-listen to it and take notes.
Okay, maybe we could bring everybody, let everybody unmute, and if somebody wanted to raise their hand.
If someone wants to ask a question, please raise your virtual hand, and I will unmute you. And I'm putting the link for the YouTube recording here. Okay, I will ask one then. Dr. Abumoghli, Reverend Moon, we're familiar, as you can tell, we're all familiar with him. And I remember he said from early on, what we need is a revolution of the heart. So it's another way to say what you've said. I think it's another way to say to go from materialist science to post-materialist science. Could you comment on that?
Indeed, actually, this is when we started at the United Nations Environment Program, the foundation of the interfaith collaboration whole movement. We said we had the first and second and third and fifth industrial revolution. What we are missing is an ethical revolution or a revolution of ethics. This was what ties everything together. And as I mentioned, we tried science, we tried technology, we tried policies, we tried multilateral systems, and we tried everything. What we have not actually consciously tried is the ethical component, how to do ethical science, ethical policies, and tie them all together. Because, the interconnectedness that everybody agrees with and everybody was talking about is interconnectedness between humans and other creations. In different religions, and specifically in Islam, people and humans are only but one nation out of many nations. That is, you know, the animals, the birds, the trees, and so on. So we are, and the science says that there is 7,600,000 species on Earth. Humans are only one species out of those millions and hundreds of millions of species. But we are controlling Earth, and we should use, the conscience, our ethics, our values, in living in harmony with all other nations that God has created on Earth.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's beautiful. Now we have two questions. One is from Raymond McCready, coming from Seattle, Washington. Go ahead, Mr. McCready.
Sorry. Yes, that was so fascinating. I was working and listening and tuned into Dr. Gregg Jones, and I was just thinking, I work a lot in my garden, but I personally mostly don't care for insects that much, but now I can realize that insects are, but what insects, how do you find out which insects are beneficial that you're talking about? Because there's some that aren't beneficial. That's the question.
Of course, there's invasive insects. We know a lot of invasives. Spotted lanternfly is around right now, stink bugs. But, the ones that live on the native plants are generally the native insect. Like the spotted lanternfly lives on the tree of heaven. That's an invasive tree. And the spotted lanternfly came here from China and is living on that tree here. So that's interesting, isn't it? So they know the plant that they evolved with, and they congregate on that plant. The milkweed has over 500 species of insects that live on it. not all at once, of course, but there's different varieties of milkweed as well. You got the aphids and the ants and the lacewing lion.
So is there a quick way to look up what are the good ones in Seattle that I should look for, or just plant native?
Mosquitoes are especially good for you, Ray.
I don't know a source where we can look up that, but that's a good question.
I think the Milkweed National Park.
Milkweed are essential for the monarch butterflies.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And as Christoph just mentioned, National Wildlife Federation, that site I used, that has, I know it has shrubs, trees. Does it have insects, Christoph?
Yeah, I was thinking the Homegrown National Park website.
Oh, the Homegrown National Park. Okay.
So why don't you put those websites in the chat for
okay, I'll try to do that.
If you can. So I think we'll have to move on to our next, and I think I'm going to have to say final question. It's already 3:15. Time flies, and Dr. Abumoghli is chiming in from Amman, Jordan, and I would believe it is 11:15 p.m. over there.
Wow.
So Dinsha Dadachanji is the research director for HJIFEP. Dinsha, if you could unmute and ask your question.
Actually, I just want to make a comment, firstly, to applaud all the speakers. The comment is that I'm really grateful to Professor Abumoghli to point out the post-materialist view. And in fact, HJIFEP has sponsored several conferences where we've had scientists who have been advocating the post-materialist viewpoint. Professor Lisa Miller, Professor Gary Schwartz, Professor Marjorie Willicott, perhaps you know some of these people. They have an Academy of Post-Materialist Sciences, and you may be able to find that on the website. If anybody has any desire to read their papers or presentations, you can contact me or Christoph. These papers are archived at the HJIFEP website, but they are password protected. But the main thing I want to mention is that they basically agree that we are interconnected with nature and we are part of nature. And therefore, science generally thinks of nature as being outside the box, but in fact, we are part of nature. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dinsha. And I can mention, I guess we can you see this book? I'm trying to get it. It's the proceedings of one of the conference on science and God. They're available on the website of HJIFEP on the section on, not sure exactly, publications. Amazing content. Margie Willicott, what I read was from that book, and so many other people. It's amazing content. Yeah. So we're going to have to go to our closing comments because it's already 3:18 p.m. and Dr. Abumoghli, we have to be kind and let him, how can you say, he went to other conferences today, you know, he's amazing that he accepted to come. He said it's going to be 10 p.m. for me, so it's okay. My other conferences will be finished. So how about we'll just give 2 minutes each. Please respect your 2 minutes of our closing statement. And let's start with Merle Barlaan.
Thank you, Pierre, and thank you everyone for your inspiring feedback. The conversation on restoring the earth and healing ourselves and healing humanity is an existential conversation that we need to have. And I think that whatever initiatives we have, we need to do partnership. We need to work together and open our platforms so that whether it's faith-based or legislative pathways, we can not do it by ourselves. But the more we create alliances through our platforms, we can heal ourselves, we can heal nature and heal humanity.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Gregg Jones.
Oh, well, I would say that you are nature's best host. You are nature's best and possibly only hope. Why does Dr. Talamy say that? I think because he knows that the insects are the basis of the food web. And if they disappear, we cannot live on this planet. And we've already lost 45% of the insects. That's remarkable. You know, and what can we do? Well, we can think about some of those things that I shared about planting a native species, an oak tree. There's a lot we can do, and it's very liberating to do one thing. It's not only cutting off the invasives, but it's more importantly is to plant natives, because that brings back the hope. Thank you.
Yes, please, Christoph, go ahead.
Amen. Amen to that. And I want to applaud Gregg for his incredible work with native plants. We both were inspired by Dr. Talamy. I want to share a picture of my garden. I took his words seriously, and we converted our lawn to almost 50% native grasses. We started last year. I want to show you the picture how it looks now. Can you see that?
Beautiful.
So this was like in the background, you see the grass. I mean, we already never used pesticides, but we did mow it. In the background, you can see the little grass mowed, but the front, this all native grasses. It took about, from the spring, we had to take out all the lawn, take out the sod, put the new seed on it, and it took about 2 months to do this. These are all native plants, all native grasses. An incredible array of flowers. You can see insects coming, butterflies, moths, bees, you can name it. So I can have it just, yeah.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you
it.
very much.
Very
And now
good.
the final word to Dr. Abumoghli.
Thank you very much. I believe there's a lot of good things being done by so many great people like yourselves. And I was so much delighted when Christoph said that you get 11 or 20,000 views every week and so on. This is what we need to maximize, reaching out, because there's a lot of things, good things happening. There's a lot of ethical thinking and moral responsibility, but it is still confined with those like-minded people. It's not reaching out to ordinary people who watch, TikTok or Instagram or what have you. And I'm not sure if you were aware of Laudato Si that was issued by Pope Francis in 2015. It's a marvelous piece of work derived from the Bible and the Christian teaching on sustainable development, sustainability, climate change, and biodiversity. I myself have led a similar exercise, which is called Al-Mizan, Covenant for the Earth, from an Islamic perspective. And both Christianity and Islam compose more than 55% of global human population. So we both, those religions and of course other religions, have doctrines, have ethical teachings, have grounded in history practices that we need to spread to everybody to start, the sustainable living according to our beliefs and ethics and values. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abumoghli. I put the link in the chat to Al-Mizan, an amazing, beautiful initiative. Truly inspiring. I did take a look at the website. I encourage you all to do so. So we have our monthly webinars. We encourage you to stay tuned for our next webinar. And please do go to HJIFEP.org and follow the work of the Hyo Jeong International Foundation for Environmental Peace.